Hey there, Sanka, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of a podcast with one of the most respected mentors that I have in my life. He's here to talk about a very important topic. He's very accredited and very achieved in life. He's helped many people with their personal branding. So I'm actually going to let him introduce himself. So Omar, how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you for having me on your podcast, first of all. Really appreciate it. So I'm Omar Dacosta-Shahid, London-based. I graduated in journalism, had a very short career in journalism, then retired very early. I used to write for the Times, Guardian, Independent, New Statesman, traveled to a few different countries, kind of fell out of love in the industry, moved into marketing, trained as a copywriter and in social media. And then in 2017, set up my first company with Safe, who of course you know. Since then, we've gone on to found 3 other brands and acquire one brand, which is Muslim, a global digital publication. So we own a group of companies under the umbrella Inclusive Group. And something my wife often makes me say, I don't like to say it, but recognized Forbes 30 under 30 a year ago. So yeah, journalism to marketing to entrepreneurship.
Fantastic. So right there, you guys saw in the last 2 minutes, Omar did something, and that's called personal branding. This is why he's an expert, and this is why we're here to talk about it.
It wasn't intentional.
Yeah, but this was my goal, and this is what I wanted to show you guys, and that sounded phenomenal. Anybody who would hear that would know who he is, what his position is, what he's done, and what he can do. So what's his offer on the table? So Omar, just a little bit, what could you say about personal branding and what people have achieved through personal branding?
Okay. So I would say you first have to know why you want a personal brand. Right. Okay. And I would say there's at least 2 things that come to mind why you should think about having a personal brand. The first is reputation. So reputation is important, especially people of faith as well. Like having credibility in society is important. And personal brand, building your personal brand, building respect around you as a human being is something worth pursuing. So reputation is important, and tying into that is the idea of kind of risk mitigation. So, for example, if something happens to you later down the line where someone tries to discredit you, but you've got a 10-year track record of people knowing about you, knowing what you stand for, knowing what your values are, etc., then it's a lot harder for people to discredit you because they're like, hold on, this guy's been really good for the last 10 years. He's been educating me. He's been providing value. So that can't be true, what someone's saying. And one of my mentors, he said to me, can you do my personal brand for me? And I said to him that, and he said to me, he said, look, how much would it cost? And I said, look, don't worry about the money. And he said, you know what? Personal brand is actually invaluable. You can't put a cost to it. Because how do you put a cost to your reputation? Right? So the second thing is the idea of leverage. Okay, so the more that people know about you, respect you, like you, the more opportunities come your way. So that applies if you are an entrepreneur. I'll give you an example. Probably 40 to 50% of all the business that comes our way comes from mine, Safe's LinkedIn. We post regularly. People like the fact that we talk about Muslims and Islam, etc. And then people want to talk to us. So from a business perspective, it works. And then even if you don't have a business, it creates opportunities. Can help you find work. And also, let's say, for example, you start a business and want to start another business and you need investment or whatever the situation is, you bring that goodwill into everything else that you do. So reputation and leverage are just 2 of the reasons why you should start a personal. I don't know if that answers your question. I actually can't remember your question, by the way.
You answered a question that I had after, but I think it's good that you talked about a little bit of the how. I was talking about what value, and I think you kind of touched on it, that how you guys get a lot of business from your personal brand. And I want you to just kind of add on to it. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to show people the value of improving their personal brand or having a personal brand. We talk about you talk about a little bit about your reputation, but what does it mean in the real world when it comes to any form of gain? I can talk about financial gain, emotional gain, mental gain, whatever you want to talk about. But how does it help you in gaining something?
Okay. So I think the second point about leverage ties in. So it can help you with regards to simply making money. You know, if you're a business owner, or if you want to become an influencer, which, by the way, I don't recommend. Even though I'm not against the idea of building a personal brand, I'm against the idea of seeking fame. They're two different things.
Yes.
Like building reputation in society, there's nothing wrong with that. But the idea of, even when we were earlier today in the mosque, the idea of seeking leadership, it's actually antithetical, you know, to faith values. So I think building reputation is important, but seeking fame is problematic. So yeah, it can help you. It can help you make money. It can build credibility, and it can open opportunities. There are many different things that a personal brand can do for you: financial, social, you know, personal. In fact, like, even building a personal brand helps with your confidence.
Yeah.
Like, if you are known and respected, it helps with how you feel about yourself. You know, and that's really important. You know, as like psychologists talk about the idea of, you know, as you increase on the hierarchy, in the social hierarchy, you increase in confidence, and you know, you're physiologically you're stronger, mentally you're stronger, and so on. So financially, psychologically, physiologically, socially, there's many benefits to it.
Fantastic. Okay. Could you give us one example so people can have a real life example of a successful personal branding and how it led to someone's achievement, or led to them achieving even more? I know you kind of have mentioned about yours, and I see it on a daily basis because I follow your LinkedIn quite a bit, and as I said, you're my mentor, and I follow that and I learn from that, and I try to, you know, reiterate and put into my stuff. But what would you say is in someone that we know, the globally people know, and done a great job in personal branding, and now is achieving even more and excelling even more?
So one person that comes to mind is, have you heard of Stephen Bartlett? So he's one of the founders of a company called Social Chain, which is a social media agency. It was Manchester based, and they got acquired for 350 million, I think, about a year ago. Young guy, he sold at age 27 years old. Between 21 and 27, he built that business. And now he's actually a dragon on Dragon's Den, which is an investor.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So he's someone that I've been following for a long time. And he was quite early on in his career, he couldn't even speak in front of a camera. There's a story of him taking 3 hours in his early 20s just to answer one question. And now he's, you know, really successful investor, sold his agency, and really has a really big personal brand. So he obviously developed in confidence, and he started to put out a lot of content. And his content, and I think this is one of the points you're interested in, is provides a lot of value to a lot of people. So what he does is he talks a lot about mental health. He talks a lot about pursuing your dreams, happiness, and so on. And what he wasn't necessarily doing is talking about his business. Right? So this is one of the interesting things, that your personal brand doesn't necessarily have to relate specifically to what you do day to day. Right? So the key is how do you find something that you know about and you're passionate about? And then how do you find something that you can actually talk about it well? You know, you have something to talk about. And then how do you be consistent at it? It's one thing to be passionate about something. It's another thing to just talk about it every now and again. Like, to build traction, you have to create regular content. Right. And I'm not necessarily too keen on the idea of creating just any form of content. It has to have value to it. But once you know what you're passionate about, know what you want to say, and then become consistent at it. And that's what Stephen Bartlett did over 4 to 5 years. I'm not sure how many followers. Last I checked, he had a couple of million on Instagram. Extremely popular on LinkedIn. I see all across my timeline is just people sharing his LinkedIn content. And like I said, none of it is necessarily related to what he does. But as a result of that, his business gained leverage. Because as him as a founder increased in popularity, so did his business.
So he became a domain expert. And a lot of people wanted to come to him for a lot of different things within that domain. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm thinking now a lot of people who are watching not necessarily want to put out content, or they don't want to necessarily do something that's out of their way, or they might not know what they're passionate about yet. And I know that's a totally different topic about how to find out what you're passionate about, what is passion and XYZ. But we'll focus on, let's say somebody knows a little bit about what they want to do. They are a domain expert in something, but they're not happy, they're not interested in putting out a lot of content. How can they still develop a personal brand, or what does personal brand mean for their perspective?
So I'm not convinced you can create a personal brand without putting out regular content.
Okay.
I think that's almost a contradiction. I think you can get to a point where you've built enough traction and goodwill that you can put out less content because people know you and recognize you anyway. But you have to start somewhere. If you create content irregularly, how's anyone ever going to find out about you, and how's anyone ever going to be invested in you? Just through one post every 3 or 4 months. It just doesn't make sense.
Got it. Yeah.
So that's the starting point. What just remind me about what your question was again?
Yeah, it's about, so not everybody's gonna be ambitious enough, and they don't want to necessarily be known as a domain expert, but they want a personal brand. They want to be known about something, or something that can bring them value. As you said, personal brand can help you a lot. So what would you say to them? What would you focus on? Okay, so do they make a blog, or do they make some comments on certain people's LinkedIn?
Yeah.
What would you say? How can they define their personal brand? Because there's levels of personal branding. Like, some people want to be Steve Jobs level, right? And as you said, the other person that you mentioned. But there's also people who just want a decent job, or just want to keep it low level, but still have a reputation of something in some domain.
Yeah.
So what would you say to them?
So I would try to work backwards. Once you understand what you want to build your personal brand around, whether it's finance, whether it's faith, whatever it might be, I would then start on one platform. Although I'm a big believer in omni-channel strategies and going across different brands. Someone who we're meeting tonight, who's very good at this, by the way, is Ibrahim from IFG. He posts across all platforms. I get WhatsApp messages from him every few days. Then you go on TikTok, he's on TikTok. You go on Instagram, you go on LinkedIn, he's there. And he's actually tailoring his content depending on the platform, because every platform has a different demographic. You have to think about who's on that platform and what type of message will resonate with those people. So pick a platform to start with. Just make a start. So the platform which I tend to favor my favorite are LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook, just because historically I've been in there for a long time, so got a lot of friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then LinkedIn, it makes sense as a founder to be on LinkedIn. So if it's business related, you should definitely go on LinkedIn. Yeah. There's a massive opportunity on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is still growing year on year. And what's happened over the past few years is that LinkedIn has moved from just being specifically work and jobs related to becoming a bit more broad. Yeah. So you can talk about a lot more things now. So the opportunities to build your personal brand on LinkedIn is growing. So that's one thing I recommend. And once you've established yourself, try to go omni-channel. This is not something that I have been able to do yet, because I've been focusing on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. But you should definitely try to post across multiple platforms. Why? Because there's so much content out there, you can get drowned out. Yeah. If someone doesn't see you on TikTok, they might see you on LinkedIn. Yeah. They don't see you on LinkedIn, they might see you on Facebook.
They'll see you somewhere.
They'll see you somewhere.
Yeah.
So it has to be regular, and ideally it should be an omni-channel strategy as well, meaning multiple channels.
Yeah, no, I could totally second that, because a lot of things have actually came my way too because of my constant posting on different various sources like YouTube, TikTok. I need to make a Twitter, by the way. That reminds me, and Instagram and stuff. And so people reach out to me with certain opportunities, and because there's so many things going on, I have to kind of step back. But there's something that you said in here which is very important. Before you said about quality versus quantity, and initially, a lot of my focus was just with quality, but try to get as much out so more people can hear about it. But now I think I realize that you need to have decent quantity, but even better quality. And that's where my mental I think learning has been so far, and that's what shift I'm going to probably be looking forward to be making. But what would you say, someone who's new? And they're trying to bring out quality right now, as we're saying. Would you say for them, would it be quantity to focus on, or would it be quality to focus on? Because when you're new, you don't know you're trying to put things out. You're trying to get for example, a new person starts in IT. They really like website development, or they're really good at website development, but they don't know what to put out. So should they just try to get something out and then learn on the way and change their?
It's a good strategy. That is so.
Okay.
I would say quantity is important because you don't know what's going to land, what's going to resonate until you put out content. So you may put out multiple pieces of content, and for some reason, one piece of content performed better than the other.
Yeah.
So for me, strategy is something you do at the beginning, but it's also something that evolves and something that strategy is based on learnings. So what your strategy has to be based on is putting out different pieces of content and seeing what's working. So you won't necessarily arrive at what works for you right at the beginning, and you can only do that through putting out a lot of content. So putting out a lot of content is important, although I would caveat that by saying that I'm a big believer in being responsible and being sensible and having common sense.
Okay.
So there's a lot of influencers today, and again, so I'll be honest, we are in the influencer space, like we work with influencers, but I'm kind of anti-influencer culture.
Yes.
In the sense that if you happen to become an influencer through your talent, through your content, fine. But don't seek to become famous.
Through becoming viral for doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So don't seek fame, basically. That quantity part is important. But at the end of the day, the quality is almost the same thing as value. So you have to be able to provide value in order for people to feel invested. You can put out loads and loads of content. It doesn't mean people are going to be invested in you. Like there's lots of influencers out there who create content all the time, but the minute they ask someone to buy something, people don't buy it because they don't actually believe in them as a person.
Concept of conversion.
They're just following them just to keep updated what is this person up to. So quantity doesn't result in conversions or result in convincing, right? Quality does. Actually providing value to your audience. So those are the two dynamics. Quantity is important to get going for learnings and to be consistent. Quality is the thing which gets people invested.
No, for sure. So I'm going to make a slight shift in here, just because my audience, and I think I understand their mindset because I was once in that mindset too. So quite a people who watch me are actually Muslim, and so there's this whole concept of when you talk about yourself or when you talk about things that you've achieved in, and this is part of personal branding. People say that's unhumble, and coming from the Islamic or even South Asian culture, it's very looked down upon when you act unhumble. Would you say, talking about your achievements, what you've done is being unhumble? Would you say it's a form of, and I mean, I'll share my perspective also after, but I think it's important I get your perspective on this. Would you say it's unhumble, or would you say, no, it's a fair thing to say, fair things to do?
It's a really interesting one. It's something that I've struggled with a lot as well, and I've got advice on as well.
Okay.
So I think there's a tendency that people can come across as slightly self-absorbed and pretentious, when they talk about themselves a lot and what they've achieved. But I think I don't think talking about what you've achieved regularly is a good strategy. I think people what would be the purpose of that? I think if you've got, for example, a LinkedIn page and you put your qualifications and people can see that and you celebrate your wins, I think that's the key. Is if there's a win, if there's a success, tell people about it. There's nothing wrong with celebrating it. But then what would be the purpose of mentioning it again or mentioning everything that you've ever done in your life that's gone well? So I think the right formula is let people find that out, so have that publicly available, because that adds to a sense of credibility. And then whenever there's a win, talk about it. There's no harm in that. That's how I would think about it.
Yeah. So, and I respect that because there's a middle ground, which is a healthy middle ground. I remember when I was younger and I was, university things started happening, achievements started happening. Somebody gave me the advice because they saw I wasn't posting anything. They said I wasn't doing much. They said, take a microphone and scream in it with your achievements, because then people will hear. Because if you don't scream in it with your achievements, nobody else will hear. So do it and constantly do it until you start seeing the results come in. And then, and I tried that, and obviously things did start churning out from it, and job offers and blah 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 blah. And then I think And then soon after, I started realizing there's an aspect of it that starts becoming unhumbling. And that's where what you're saying right now is you understand when to say it and the right times to say it, and you mention it as a form of a celebration rather than, I'm here, this is who I am. And you see it too with people, who you work with or around you who constantly do it. So you're like, okay, yeah, we got it, buddy. Understand. So I think that's beautiful what you said, because a lot of people from this community refrain from even talking about anything. One is because of the evil eye, but then also the other thing is that, we don't want to show off. We don't want to sound like it. But I think there's a huge opportunity that they're missing with how far they can excel in life because they're not talking about their achievements.
Yeah.
Right? So I think what you said there is very important. So now let's go to the end of it. And I think I want to ask you, what would you say to this person? He's in his 21, 22. He's starting to understand that life is going, I'm starting to excel in this. I'm getting a lot of traction in this from just close people. How can he make his personal brand now that the globe can understand him a little bit better and more opportunities come towards you? As you said, reputation and brand brings things to you. So you don't have to work as hard to try to, get opportunities to come to you. You start making opportunities for yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would slightly challenge the idea of going global. I would question, why would you want to go global, and how would you go about doing that? So like I said, I'm actually fundamentally against the idea of seeking popularity and fame. I think what we should be focusing on is putting out good, meaningful content and letting that resonate with people, letting people share that, and then organically growing. If you end up becoming globally known, fantastic. If you don't, then that shouldn't necessarily be the end anyway. That's not the aim of the game. Is for the whole world to know you, because you can have impact. You can have great impact in the world, by having a smaller following than having millions of followers, but not necessarily knowing what to do once you have those millions of followers. So I think sincerity is really important. Because I think sincerity unlocks a lot of things, because people can detect that. People can detect if you're sincere, and people be more open and vulnerable and will like you a lot more. So I can't necessarily say what it takes to become globally. I'm not globally known. But I think I would question, why would you want to become globally known?
When I mean global, I mean like more to the public. Because this person is right now shy, timid. He's kept everything to himself, and she has excelled quite a bit in whatever they're doing. And now I'm just trying to promote people to kind of celebrate their achievements. And I'm trying to ask you, how would you say they should do that so opportunities come to them?
Okay.
Yeah,
I understand. So the first thing is, in order to succeed in anything, you have to put yourself in a slightly uncomfortable position. So if you've never recorded in front of a camera, then take out your phone. Look, you don't. We're recording on a mobile phone today.
Yeah.
You don't. I'm sorry if I've exposed you, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm in between travels, so it's all good.
Exactly. So, if anyone can buy a small tripod.
Yes.
Get their phone out and record themselves. Get used to the idea of recording yourself. I think video content is very important. Don't just think about copy and just text-based content. So put yourself in an uncomfortable position, because you'll grow. And I think you just have to take small incremental steps as well. But I think it's the key is always to figure out, okay, what do I want to achieve through all of this? And then work backwards, reverse engineer kind of how you get there. And look at people who have been successful. Read their biographies and see what have they done.
Read Omar's, go on his LinkedIn. I'll share all that stuff in the description. Check out his LinkedIn. Do not send him too many messages, but do send him a message, because he's super busy, and I know he gets a lot of content.
But so look at what other people, and one really important thing is have mentors. Everyone needs mentors.
Yes.
A mentor doesn't necessarily have to have gray hair. They can be similar age to you. So mentors are people that have, as they say, traveled the path often. They've been successful, and they have learnings, and they can help keep you grounded. So know where you want to go, have mentors, be sincere, and go out of your comfort zone.
Amazing.
Those are just some of the tips I would have.
I was going to ask you the three tips, but
I give you 4.
Yeah,
4 is not a great number. 3 is better, but
because it's the power of 3, right? The rule
exactly,
of 3. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, and I think I just want to share a little bit before, because we are talking about personal branding, and one of the reasons, one thing you did mention, the phone and recording. I actually started YouTube and all this stuff with just my phone, and not even this phone. I don't know if you see my other phone; it's all broken. The only camera that works is the back camera. And this is why a lot of people are asking me on TikTok, why is my always so a little bit blurry? It's because my front camera is an entire crack going through. It's my old phone. And so the budget was 0. And I had a tripod, which is obviously like my brother had one, so I was using. And it was just about getting started. And now I'm starting to understand, and that's why now you make those changes, you grow, and you find mentors, you learn from them, you annoy them a little bit, and then you learn and you keep changing. So amazing! I hope this podcast was something fruitful for you guys. If you guys do want to learn more about personal branding, how to grow, all that stuff, Omar's always releasing some content on his social media. I'll link all those stuff in the description below. If you guys have questions specifically about is this what I should do, or this, you can put in the comments, and I'll share the comments and the questions with you, and maybe we can get some answers in regards to that. But that's it for now, guys, and I gotta respect Omar's time here. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, take care of yourself, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum. Do subscribe, like, share, hit that bell icon for notifications. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram for more content. I'll be uploading more stuff in all of these social media websites. Thanks. Take care. Salam.